Some cult films were so outrageous they were banned outright, too violent, too explicit, or too politically dangerous. But what if we told you many of them are now free to watch, legally? From lost grindhouse horrors to underground art films once hunted by censors, here are 10 banned cult movies you didn't know are free online, starting with pure cinematic madness. Number 10, Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, 1981. This psychosexual slasher is one of the most infamous video nasties ever unleashed. In the early 80s, the UK government seized it under the Obscene Publications Act. It was so graphic that a distributor who smuggled in an uncut print was actually jailed. That's right, this film sent someone to prison just for distributing it. The movie follows a disturbed young man plagued by childhood trauma and electroshock therapy as he descends into a violent spree across New York. It's filled with explicit gore, unsettling flashbacks, and a final act so disturbing it was banned in multiple countries. Special effects artist Tom Savini even distanced himself from it, denying he was involved, though later evidence suggested he had contributed. Despite its dark legacy, Nightmares in a Damaged Brain has gained a massive cult following for its psychological intensity and unapologetic brutality. Thanks to its public domain status, it's now available uncut on archive.org, free to stream. For fans of early splatter cinema and gritty psychological horror, this one is a must-watch, if your stomach can handle it. Number 9. Pink Flamingos, 1972. There are cult films, and then there's Pink Flamingos. Directed by John Waters, this underground freak show was banned in multiple countries for decades and continues to trigger walkouts to this day. The plot centers on Divine, a drag queen battling to retain her title as the filthiest person alive. What follows is a parade of vulgarity, violence, and taboo-smashing spectacle. Scenes include incest, bestiality, cannibalism, and a now infamous moment involving dog droppings. It's not metaphor. It's not subtle. And it's definitely not safe for work. Censors in Australia, Canada, Norway, and the UK banned it outright. In the US, it only screened in midnight showings for decades. Even John Waters admitted it was designed to offend everyone. But beneath the filth is a radical celebration of outsider identity, anti-establishment rage, and queer defiance. Over time, Pink Flamingos was reappraised as a landmark in queer cinema and underground art, even entering the Library of Congress National Film Registry. And now, astonishingly, the full version is legally free to stream on archive.org, restored and uncut. It remains a challenge, a celebration, and a cinematic scream against normalcy. Not for the faint of heart, but a cornerstone of banned cult cinema. Number 8, Street Trash, 1987. Street Trash isn't just banned, it's infamous. A movie that pushed 80s sleaze to grotesque extremes. Originally rejected by multiple distributors for its necrophilia, body-melting gore, and deeply offensive humor, it was banned or censored across Europe. The plot? A batch of expired liquor called Tenafly Viper hits a liquor store in the slums, and anyone who drinks it literally melts into neon-colored slime. Meanwhile, homeless Vietnam vets clash with deranged junkyard owners, and the whole film spirals into chaotic anarchy. It's nasty, tasteless, and completely unapologetic. Director Jim Morrow, who later worked as a camera operator on major Hollywood blockbusters, created something that felt like trauma meets punk rock. The film includes a decapitated head used in a game of catch, graphic assault scenes, and ultra-stylized gore that had censors shaking their heads. Despite the bans and controversy, Street Trash became a staple at underground midnight screenings. It has since been recognized as a cult classic of melt horror and anti-establishment cinema. Today, the full film is legally available to stream on Tubi and YouTube. No cuts, no edits, just the original mess in all its neon horror. Number 7. The Forbidden Zone, 1982. Before Danny Elfman became Tim Burton's go-to composer, he and his brother Richard Elfman created one of the most bizarre musicals ever made. The Forbidden Zone is a black-and-white fever dream that mixes cabaret, animation, nudity, satire, and surrealism. and it got banned in several countries for racial caricatures, sexual content, and disturbing imagery. The story involves a family entering a mysterious portal in their basement that leads to the sixth dimension, ruled by the horny midget King Fausto and Queen Doris. Hervé Villechaize of Fantasy Island fame plays the king. Danny Elfman appears in clown makeup singing as Satan. It's pure chaos. The film was pulled from festivals and home release schedules due to its controversial use of blackface, sexualized dance sequences, and what critics called grotesque racial caricature. It was a cult staple in bootleg VHS circles until re-emerging in restored form. Today, The Forbidden Zone has found new life on Tubi and YouTube, fully intact and legally streamable. It remains a polarizing and unforgettable oddity, like Rocky Horror's evil cousin on acid. You either love it or run screaming. Number 6. Salò, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Few films have been as widely banned and furiously debated as Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salò. Banned in Italy, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and several US states, this adaptation of Marquis de Sade's darkest novel reframes its story in the final days of Mussolini's fascist regime. The plot is simple but devastating. 4 fascist libertines kidnap teenagers and subject them to torture, rape, mutilation, and degradation over the course of 120 days. It's not just disturbing, it's soul-scorching. Critics accused Pasolini of glorifying fascist brutality. Others saw it as a grim allegory of power, capitalism, and moral decay. It was pulled from theaters, festivals, and even destroyed in custom seizures. The film's reputation only grew more extreme after Pasolini was murdered shortly before its release, possibly due to his politics or perhaps even the film itself. Despite the controversy, or maybe because of it, Salò has become a cornerstone of banned cinema history. And now, the full uncut version is legally streaming for free on archive.org, complete with restored Italian audio and subtitles. It's a challenging watch that many will never finish, but for those who dare, it's a cinematic descent into human cruelty that refuses to flinch. Number 5. Thundercrack, 1975. Imagine if John Waters directed the Rocky Horror Picture Show and added X-rated pornography. That's Thundercrack, a black and white horror porn comedy so outrageous it was banned by almost every distributor in the West. The film follows stranded travelers who seek shelter in a spooky mansion run by a grieving widow. Then the real madness begins. Characters confess their twisted fetishes, a man has sex with a gorilla, and the plot veers between gothic horror and surreal sexual cabaret. There's no MPAA rating because no rating board would touch it. Banned for its frontal nudity, queer sex, bizarre fetishes, and absurdist style, the film was screened only at underground festivals and LGBTQ+ midnight cinema circuits. Critics were baffled. Fans were obsessed, and it was nearly lost to obscurity. But today, Thundercrack has been digitally restored and is streaming free on archive.org, complete with its original 160-minute runtime. It's sleazy, artistic, hilarious, and horrifying. A true one-of-a-kind cult nightmare that earned its ban and its legacy. Number 4. Mondo Cane, 1962. Before Faces of Death, before Jackass, there was Mondo Cane, a pseudo-documentary that shocked the world and ignited an entire genre. It was banned in several countries, censored in others, and condemned by critics for staging scenes that looked too real, or were real. Mondo Cane promised to show exotic customs from around the globe, but it quickly turned into exploitation tourism. Scenes included animal cruelty, tribal rituals, funeral ceremonies, and graphic footage of death and suffering. It blurred fact and fiction, with some sequences clearly manipulated or staged. That didn't stop it from becoming a massive box office hit, or from being banned in countries like Sweden, New Zealand, and parts of the UK. The outrage only fueled its legend. Censors labeled it obscene. Activists accused it of racism and sensationalism, but it laid the blueprint for the Mondo genre, shockumentaries that would dominate grindhouse circuits for decades. Today, Mondo Cane is freely viewable on YouTube, often in remastered form. It's still deeply uncomfortable and wildly politically incorrect, but it remains a vital artifact in cult cinema history and the origins of reality-based shock film. Number 3. Ken Park, 2002. Directed by Larry Clark, Kids, and written by Harmony Korine, Gummo, Ken Park was so extreme it never received an official release in the United States. It was banned in Australia, refused classification in the UK, and protested in several countries. Why? Because it tackled the darkest sides of American suburbia: teenage sex, incest, abusive families, and even autoerotic asphyxiation. Unlike other taboo films, this one featured non-simulated sex and minors as characters, blurring the legal lines and ensuring no studio would touch it. Though completed in 2002, the film was never officially distributed in the US due to legal threats and potential obscenity charges. It circulated as a bootleg for years, becoming one of the most controversial lost films of the early 2000s. Now, Ken Park is freely viewable, uncut, on archive.org, with multiple versions subtitled and available globally. It's not entertainment, it's a dare and a disturbing lens into what mainstream cinema refuses to show. Number 2. The Last Road, 1997. One of the most mysterious entries on this list, The Last Road, is a French-Canadian post-apocalyptic cult film that disappeared almost as quickly as it was made. Featuring religious blasphemy, symbolic executions, and a deeply anti-institutional message, it was banned in multiple European markets and pulled before major distribution. The story follows a group of survivors in a bleak spiritual wasteland after a global collapse, complete with twisted religious sects, crucifixion imagery, and hallucinatory dialogue. The cinematography is stunning, the messaging is inflammatory, and critics at the time called it a direct challenge to faith. Though finished in 1997, it never received proper home release. Religious groups pressured broadcasters to drop it, and it became one of the most sought-after underground films of its time. Today, it has resurfaced in full on YouTube, with English subtitles and remastered footage. It's an obscure masterpiece that pushes emotional and ideological boundaries, and worth watching before it disappears again. Number 1. Cannibal Ferox, 1981. Also known as Make Them Die Slowly, Cannibal Ferox is an Italian jungle horror so graphic it was banned in 31 countries, seized by UK police, and blacklisted as one of the worst video nasties ever made. The plot follows anthropologists who enter the Amazon and fall prey to a tribe that dishes out grisly revenge for colonial cruelty. Along the way, there's graphic dismemberment, brain-eating, impalement, and, controversially, real animal killings. The film has no subtlety. It was made to shock. Director Umberto Lenzi defended it as an anti-drug, anti-imperialism film, but few saw it that way. Critics attacked it as sadistic garbage. Many theaters refused to show it. Even hardened horror fans walked out. Despite the fury, Cannibal Ferox gained a loyal cult following, and its legacy grew. Now, in a twist of fate, the full uncut version is streaming freely and legally on archive.org for those brave enough to stomach it. Once banned and buried by censors, these cult films now live again, raw, unfiltered, and free online. Whether you watch for the taboo, the art, or the madness, remember these movies survived fire and fury to be seen. Bookmark them now, and if you dare, hit play.